Alright, we're out here in the Shelby garage again today. A little bit different though. Today we're not going to be replacing parts or doing any various repairs to junky automobiles. Today we're going to be going ahead and looking at the tools and various pieces of equipment that we've got out here in the garage. I always feel kind of like Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino when he says this isn't something that you just go out and get overnight. This is something that a man acquires over a lifetime. Definitely the case for me. My rule has always been that if I can afford to buy the tool and do the job myself, that's what's done if it's cheaper than taking it to somewhere else. And I've found that generally speaking I end up owning a lot of tools and doing a lot of stuff myself, but after you use it the first time it's already paid for itself. Every time thereafter it's just money in the bank. Behind me, we'll just start here. You can see that I've got the Campbell Husfeld compressor. Picked this up at Home Depot a few years ago actually when I moved down here to Illinois, and works out really well. As you can see kind of by the green bar down there, it'll do anything you want really. Keeps the die grinder running with no problem, no slowing down even when I'm just hogging out an exhaust manifold or something. And I've actually used it with my friend John to help put a new paint job on GLHS 937, so kind of nice to do that. We'll go ahead, I've got a couple boxes here, I got another one off to the side. We'll go ahead and look at these in more detail now. Alright, here's the two boxes that I mainly use. You can see this old Craftsman grip latch box. I guess old is relative, right? But nonetheless, I've had this one for the longest. I think it's the first toolbox I ever really invested in. Got it for sale one Christmas. It was like their big right after Christmas sale, and paid virtually nothing for it. I'll talk about that in a little bit in a moment. And then you look down here, and obviously a lot of junk on top of the snap-on box and also on the floor. We got a lot of projects going on right now, so things are a mess. But nonetheless, nice snap-on box, and we'll go ahead and go through the drawers here. I'm not going to spend time right now reviewing or giving you really much in the way of my impressions of the boxes. That's just going to start some sort of an internet fight anyway. So let's go ahead and look at the actual contents of the boxes first. Alright, first up is this Craftsman box that I've had for some time. I think probably well over 10 years now if I had to guess. Open the top, only the one latch on the side. Can't really see in there right now, so let's go ahead and pick up the camera. Nothing too spectacular. I do keep my torque wrenches back here, 3/8 drive inch-pounds. I believe that in the front here, actually hard to see, but I've got my SK half-inch drive torque wrench, which I use for all my lug nuts and things like that. Extensions in the front here, 3/8 over here, quarter back here. I've got very few quarter-inch extensions in the box right now because a lot of them are in my basement. Half-inch drive extensions over here. I'm looking and I got a lot of those on the other side of the garage in the basement. Over here you can see half-inch drive ratchet, full size there. Again, more stuff in the basement. 3/8 drive, quarter-inch drive, a lot of that's in the basement. In the back I got all my cheap 3/8 drive no-name wrenches, and I do keep a couple half-inch breaker bars, and then I do have this long mack half-inch drive ratchet that I actually bought for my wife because a lot of stuff is just a little bit too big for her to work on comfortably. Grip latch drawers, so you pull up on the deal and that unlocks it. A lot of junk in here, mainly light bulbs and lifters on the left, random zip ties, brushes over here. I do keep all of my punches and drift punches also in here. Some brass jobs for when you need those. Pretty simple. This box honestly doesn't see a lot of use anymore. This is what I call the cutting stuff drawer. Mainly you got putty knives, razor blades over here. There are various types of shears and scissors, what have you. You got your utility knives, and I do keep some cutoff wheels and things like that in here also. The one thing that doesn't really belong in this box, but I like to keep in here anyway, just because this drawer doesn't see a ton of use, is I do have my caliper over here. So fairly decent one. Nothing crazy, but definitely gets the job done. It's not just a cheap piece of junk anyway. File drawer. As you can see, I don't own a ton of files, and again, a lot of them down in the basement. Nothing too fantastic there. Should be able to set down the camera now as we're getting down towards the bottom. This huge mess. Vacuum lines, vacuum accessories. Obviously I use this quite extensively given the fact that I've got turbocharged cars. I've got the Granger valves over here, various styles, sizes, shapes, configurations. I've got the springs down there too. Up here it's hard to see, but I've got all sorts of NPT fittings and what have you. Just, a real variety in this drawer, but it's kind of nice. It looks a mess, but I do know where everything's at in here, believe it or not, and it really does save the day when you need something like this, and it happens quite routinely where you need one of those vacuum fittings or something like that. So that's that drawer. And again, maybe a little too much stuff in it, right? But that's okay, we'll live. Bottom drawer, somewhat similar situation. However, this one is AN fittings and some of my more expensive, to me anyway, I mean it's all relative, but some of my more expensive doodads in general. So AN fittings, AN wrenches. I do have some clamps over here, just your basic worm gear clamps, nothing big. Didn't want to lose my ARP nuts and washers and things that go with my head studs, so I put those over there. Just a couple fittings, 3/8 NPT to 6 AN fitting here, some fuel line, a couple chips for my computers, and then got a couple wideband oxygen sensors and stuff. No craziness really going on in there. Now into the Snap-on box. Again, obviously got some junk in there, a little too much of it maybe, or not really in there, but on top of it over here. But hand cleaners, some gloves. They're too small for me, of course. What else? Top drawers, wrenches, all metric. Now this I do try and keep organized, very much so, because I use it routinely. Over here I've got kind of some no-name, great wrench type. I don't know what it is. What are those? Oh, Master Tradesman. But these are honestly really nice because they kind of fit right in between what most companies' regular size wrenches are and a long pattern wrench. This is a 17, so you can see it's not quite as long as my SK long pattern 17 millimeter wrenches, but at the same time it's also really thin. So these will get into a few places, which is why I still keep them in the box. SK is the majority of what I've got because I got that when I was in college. There was a guy real young that was working at a tool wholesaler place in the Detroit area, found their name on the internet, decided to go and check them out. He showed me, he said, this is what the list price is on this thing. Here's going to be what you pay if you come in and visit me every time you need some tools. And honestly, he sold me SK for maybe a set like this cost me maybe a couple bucks more than the regular Craftsman set would cost me if it was on sale. So that's the reason why I've got the SK long pattern, the short. I've got just really all sorts of SK throughout my collection, whether it be in here or not. And that's the reason why. Lately I've been going on eBay and buying a lot of tools. My general rule is that if it's like $5 a wrench or less, I'll go ahead and get it. And that gets you a lot of doubles and things, but here's a fairly decent Mack, short pattern wrench, and less than $5, can't go wrong. I have been collecting also a lot of various flare nut or line wrenches, what have you. Here's another Mack line wrench. I do prefer, honestly, the Mack wrenches for the simple fact that much like the SK wrenches, they're quite a bit fatter and they don't cut into your hands as much when you really gotta, give something a go. A few Cornwell wrenches, again some more Mack wrenches. This one's kind of interesting. I'm actually somewhat actively on the hunt for these things. I'm not sure how well you can make it out there, but these are the Mack micro turn wrenches, and it's 15 millimeter on both sides for this particular wrench. But what it is, if I can kind of get up closely, you can maybe see how it is cut on the end, and each end is timed ever so slightly differently, so that if you use the one end, flip the wrench around, and use the other end, it is a very small angle that you're able to turn the wrench each time. So if you're in a real jam, these will really help you out. I've actually used these a couple times already and I've really enjoyed them. So we've got that. I do have some wheel bearing wrenches over here. Honestly, you don't really need these, but again, they came in a set and the price was right, so there they are. This is one of the tools that I refer to as a change your life type of tool. Honestly, these are my favorite ones that I've used so far personally, and these are the Craftsman Professional ratcheting wrenches. Again, absolutely change your life sort of tool. I really don't know what I would have done without them all these years. Absolutely a must-have for everybody's box, in my opinion. A wrench that I think, in my opinion, has bailed me out a few times, but not used very routinely. I actually got these from my grandfather years ago now, and they are Craftsman wrenches that are supposedly, and I think it works really well, I don't know why, but this will get such a darn good grip on the bolt, and it doesn't need to have much of anything left of the bolt. And you can get enough torque on it to where you can get a stuck fastener. I mean, even one of those jobs where you're like, if I can just break this bolt, my life will be easier. These right here do the job. I don't know how many times, honestly, I've used the 13 millimeter to remove bolts and things from turbochargers. You know, you got the Garrett turbochargers. It always seems like if you're like me and you live in the Rust Belt, it just takes no time at all to get those things to where they're absolutely nasty. Those things, honestly, they'll at least break them to where you can go ahead and drill out the fastener. So, all right, there's the wrench drawer. Let's go ahead and look at the next one down. Screwdrivers. Nothing too exciting in here. Frankly, it's a mess because I do have, again, just so many projects going on. I got stuff pretty well everywhere. One thing I can recommend, you look at the screwdriver and it's got the little nut job here, if you will, and that's so that you can press and then use a wrench to go ahead and turn it while you're using all your might to push on it and get a little bit more force into the fastener there. Obviously, a lot of Craftsman stuff. I was on the Mighty Car Mods site recently and kind of surprised how many guys really enjoyed their Craftsman screwdrivers. In my opinion, a lot of the stuff that I do, I'll just from turning, especially the flat-bladed screwdrivers, myself personally, I tend to really twist them and tear them up. So got a few SK screwdrivers in here that I picked up recently for really cheap. Looking for more sets of screwdrivers always. It seems like that's one thing I just never have enough of. I do also keep my Allen wrenches and things in here. Another item that I'm always short on, but it's one of those things I technically have enough of them, so if it gets the job done, I'm not buying it unless it's dirt cheap. Next drawer down in the first deep drawer on this box, impact tools and impact sockets. Ingersoll Rand 231C long shank gun there. Same gun that I used when I was in Costco, changing tires when I was in college, quite literally actually. And we found that you could get about 2 years out of one of those, running them 360 or so days a year, 10 hours a day. So, and that was without oiling them. We were really hard on them back then. But then, if you oil them, they last for just about forever. So that's great. All the rest of my air tools in here are really cheap, and they've lasted me pretty well for the simple fact that I do oil them and take at least fairly good care of them. I'm also, generally speaking, other than that die grinder, which I've probably got hours of runtime on and it's about worn out, other than that, everything in here doesn't get a ton of use except for that impact. Impact sockets, back when I bought a set of SK impact sockets, still going strong. This is and I know I've shown this in a previous video, I believe this is an Astro-Pneumatic flip socket, 19 and 21 millimeter. I also have the matching English version. And as you can tell by the way the finish is worn, this thing has taken on and off all my wheels for the most part throughout the years. And I'm telling you what, we would get 2 to 3 years out of one of these sockets before they'd break. And they're so cheap. I think I got this set originally for $9. I know that it'll outlast me. 32 millimeter socket for axle nuts on the Chryslers. I think somewhere in here I've got, this is like a cheap Harbor Freight set because I needed a 30 and a 27, a couple other things. I've read enough good reviews about the Harbor Freight sockets that I finally took the plunge and got a set of them, even though they're generally not known for being the best. Backup sockets here, I found a good deal on some more SK shallow sockets. Up at the top I've got some mack 3/8 drive stuff, so that's kind of nice. 3/8 drive mack 18 millimeter there. You'll notice throughout a lot of my collection it's all 10, 13, 15, 18 millimeter, and that's because for by and large the vast majority of the fittings on all the Chryslers, those are the sizes. So push this drawer back. Next drawer down, pliers. Not a ton of stuff in here right now. Again, I got a lot of it scattered about. A few notable things though, when I was in college, actually a guy on one of the sites I'm on, he had some tools for sale. He mechanic, opened up his own shop, and by the time he was the age at which I met him and came to know him a little bit, he had all these tools, and he's like, I'm not using them anymore, here you go, kid. And he sold them to me for dirt cheap. So I got a lot of snap ring pliers. I've even got, as you can probably see over here, just a pile of Mack snap ring pliers. Most of them bought from that guy for like 20 bucks back when. It was a great deal. I do have, again, one of those things, I don't know why or how they end up in here, but I got a bunch of lifters and followers, for the camshaft on my cars. Don't really understand that, but regardless. Ugh. Electronic stuff drawer, wiring, terminals, couple fuel injectors for some reason, zip ties, heat shrink tubing, soldering iron, all that good stuff's in here. I can tell I'm in a project because normally I've got more multimeters in here than this. I will say something to maybe put in your car just because they're free. The little Harbor Freight multimeters, honestly, they're not that great. We're using one at the Shelby Dodge Automobile Club annual convention this year. Could not get a good reading, couldn't get anything to ohm out. Actually, when you touch the two probes together, it wouldn't even register as a dead short. So that's not the best. But at the same time, it honestly will do pretty good for voltage and things. So if you just said, okay, I've got my free coupon, I can go buy anything at Harbor Freight and get this thing for free, grab it, throw it in your car, and you could at least be able to test the voltage on your battery or do a couple other basic things, and it's free. You don't even have to invest anything for that, even though you can get a good multimeter for 20 or 30 bucks off of Amazon. Next drawer down, some specialty tools. Honestly, this drawer needs to be filled with actual tools in place of these, for the simple fact that I could use the room, A, but B, I need to just build myself a shelf and be done with this. Piston ring compressor, tie rod, inner tie rod removal tool. I've got a couple compression gauge here, antifreeze, I've got fuel pressure, things like that. This is actually a pretty slick little deal. Put this in your vise and use it for AN fittings and things. That's served me well over the years. There's a lot of other options out there, but they're generally way more expensive. So that's why I just have this one, honestly. All right, let's see, next drawer down. It's going to be a huge mess. There it is. All right. In this drawer, anything abrasive or that's pretty much it. Got the Dremel, tons of sandpaper, lots of stuff left over from basically painting projects and polishing wheels, whatever else. I do keep my drill down there, but that's really about it. Not too much to write home about. But again, one of those drawers where it's a mess, it's sloppy, but you know what? By the time you're done and you really need to get something going, this is one of the drawers that you'll go to. So, all right, that's going to be it for these two boxes. We'll go ahead and go over to my third box that's out here in the garage next. Alrighty, here it is. This is my third and final box that I've got in the garage here. It's a Cornwell box, once again donated to the cause by my father. Really nice box. I actually, of the three, again, I'm not going to get into the pluses and minuses here of all of them, but one of my favorite boxes that I've got out here, if not the favorite one. Again, you got the two little latch deals on the side there to keep it locked open. This box, you'll find, has got most of my English stuff and a few things that I just want to keep without losing. Here I've got Turbos Unleashed fuel rail with injectors on it. I've got some alternator bushings from Poly Bushings, some various clamps, fasteners, measuring devices, lubricants, and anti-seize. I've even got some turbocharger parts off to the side here. Got some stock Garrett Turbo 2 stuff there. Got a square, what have you. Alrighty, let's take a look in the actual drawers now. Set down the camera. Apologize for shaking you around there. Alright, this is my English drawer. It's going to be pretty much the same for the most part as the stuff in the other drawer, except for the simple fact that this drawer, almost everything's been purchased off of eBay for next to nothing. All the wrenches that came in this set over here cost me, again, next to nothing. These are the Craftsman Professional, which, if I'm not mistaken, these are just rebranded SK wrenches. You can see how fat those are there. keep in mind that I am a bit on the tall side, so anytime I'm holding it, it's going to look a couple sizes smaller than what it really is. Mack micro turn, 1/2 inch wrench, same deal as before. Really nice. I've used this one pretty extensively. I like it. I was surprised that I ended up liking these socket end wrenches as well as I have, but I really do enjoy them. I'm on the hunt for these like I am the micro turn wrenches. Back here I've got my kind of 2-angle open-end wrenches, various sizes and things. In the back corner, just all my standard Craftsman regular old wrenches. Here I've got some Gear Wrench brand, I believe, English stubby wrenches. Over here I've got some Snap-on ignition wrenches, and then some, I think all of this is actually just Snap-on stubby or ignition wrenches. More long pattern, I think Snap-on wrenches here, 5/8, that's a pretty long one. Hard to get to wrench. Little tiny guys up here at the very front. I don't know how evident that is. Really like these. I think this is actually a kind of an intermediate size Mack 3/8 wrench. It's not quite the stubby, I don't think, but it's not quite full size either, obviously. This one's got me out of a bind or two already, so pretty happy with that. Next drawer down, that was again English wrench drawer number 1. Same deal. More English wrenches here. Some long pattern wrenches. This was quite the score on this one, in my opinion. 1 1/16 inch Mack wrench. Picked up again out of one of those sets where when you average it out, you're paying $5 a wrench. That was pretty nice. Same deal coming down this way. A lot of long pattern stuff over here. I do have my Craftsman Professional deep offset wrenches. I love these to use. Old proto one that I picked up for cheap. Some more vintage Mack and Matco wrenches. I got my Big Mama Jamma Bonnie line wrench. Same thing here. I mean, basically everything here. These are all Mack or Craftsman Professional. Flare nut wrenches to the side. Over here, all Mack long pattern offset wrenches, and some of them are just 15 degree, but some of them a little bit more of a deep offset. Same deal here. So there goes all my English wrenches. Love this drawer. I do have a couple old and broken torque wrenches back here. One's a Craftsman, one's a Snap-on. Don't really do anything with them, although I probably should. Lots of RTV. You're going to need various types. I've got paint pins for when I need to mark on metal or some such. I've actually used this one pretty extensively. I love it. Even marked out my floor to do alignments on my cars, so that's really nice. Sharpie. Got the thread locker, various, again, lubricants, anaerobic sealer. I left the cap off of it, so I'm afraid that it's all dried up. Heyo! That was a joke. Anaerobic. Anyway, so good stuff in here. Assembly lube, some modeling clay for times you need to check clearances and things. But whatever. Next drawer. Nut drivers. Got a few of these. Torques. If anybody can find me some Torx drivers that don't cost an absolute fortune and strip out easily, please let me know. Lord knows I strip these things like it's nobody's business, and I don't care what anybody says. I'm cleaning out the hole for the driver before I get in there and try and go with it. It's just strip these darn Craftsman ones like it's nobody's business, and can't manage to pony up the cash yet for the Snap-on or anything else. Gaskets, bearings, any sort of seal goes in here. Head gaskets, 2-piece intake gaskets, gasket for the downpipe. I mean, all sorts of seals and gaskets in there, keeping them nice and clean. Sockets. Didn't point out my toolbox. I do have most of my metric, normally used ones up in that. Here are all of my rarely used sockets, or my doubles and triples and stuff. So lots of big holes. Mainly due to the fact that when I'm reaching for a 32mm socket, generally speaking, it's going to be on the impact. So I haven't been too worried about filling some of these slots. Other things, as you can see off to the side here, I've got in spades, so I don't really worry about it. Next drawer down is English sockets. Again, I just don't have a ton of English stuff, and these cover pretty much anything I could want. Down here are the two crow's foot wrenches I own. A couple Mack ones. Gotten a set off eBay for next to nothing, so I can't complain. Next drawer down after that, pullers, brake stuff is mainly what's in here. So anything to do with brakes in here, and a couple pullers like a steering wheel puller and a few other things. I do keep all of my studs in here that I will generally use for setting the head down to guide them on, or also I've got studs to guide the transmission on anytime I'm doing a clutch or a trans. Double flaring tool back there, a little hand vacuum pump job. So that gets the brake job done. Next down, tap and die set. That thing's been worth its weight in gold. That was one of those jobs in college where I didn't know exactly what size I needed, so I got the bigger set and just went without food. And that's no exaggeration. There are many times in college and that was my choice, right? I got to buy some tools, got to pay for some tuition, or I can go ahead and eat. And there were times, certainly I was thin because I chose the tools in the college. So nonetheless, tap and die set, well worth it. Various drill bits. I do have some easy outs, which is perhaps the most ironic name on the face of the planet. Next drawer down, pullers and specialty tools. Getting a little hard to see here, so I'll try and zoom in some. Oh, looks like I got some valves down there too, regardless. Again, various pullers and all sorts of specialty tools, really. Spring compressors. I think this particular tool is to remove the bearing from the case on our Chrysler front wheel drive transmissions. I can see right there I've got a front balancer puller for the Chryslers, for the 2-low and the 2.4s. Spring compressor for overhead cam valves. This one's kind of cool. I haven't had the opportunity to use it yet, but I think I'll probably have some time to use it soon. This is a tie rod adjustment tool. I kind of like how compact this one is, so that way it just grabs those little serrated edges there and hopefully pulls it down. So we'll see how this one works out for me in the long run, but either way, that was that drawer. Final drawer down here is the I don't have room for it in the rest of the box, or the beating on stuff drawer, also as it's known. Few hammers, the big Mamma Jamma Williams super adjustable wrench. Do have a hubcap puller remover. Finally bought one of those recently. Another change your life tool, in my opinion, is the dead blow hammer. There's a lot of times where you don't want to mar up whatever it is that you're working on. As you can see, I've kind of used and abused this baby over the last decade or so, but it's still going strong. And it's just also really nice if you're in a confined space to be able to hit something and then have that shot in there working for you rather than against you, so you don't have the hammer bouncing off and flying back up and hitting your fender or something. But that's going to do it for this box. Alright, that's going to be it for the toolbox tour today. Again, I really want to stress, you don't have to come up with all this stuff overnight. You come up with it over a lifetime. Also, most of the stuff in my boxes have been purchased for $5 or less per wrench. Well under the price of most Craftsman stuff, even on sale. If you shop around, if you hit up eBay, if you're on Craigslist, if you're hitting up the pawn shops and you know how to wheel and deal, you can get tons of great deals on tools and not have to spend a fortune. That also saves you a ton of money when it comes time for those simple repairs. I know that when I was in college, there's no way I would have made it through if it weren't for the fact that I was resourceful and able to use my own tools and my own time to get things fixed. It's what had to be done, and it's still what's done today. Now it's a hobby and something I enjoy. So go ahead and pick up those tools, take your time, don't rush, spend the money when you absolutely need to, and you will eventually have a decent set of tools that'll get the job done.